and welcome inside the newsroom at the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications here at Syracuse University. I'm Olivia Conti.
And I'm Michael Fernari. This is the second of 6 live streams of Democracy in Action, an annual Election Day project covering voting around Onondaga County.
The project is run by both the broadcast and digital journalism and magazine news and digital departments here at the Newhouse School. Throughout the day, we'll bring you live coverage from dozens of polling places around central New York.
Onondaga County Board of Elections Commissioner Dustin Czarny says he expects about 3/4 of the results to be available tonight, but Onondaga County may not know the results until next week. Starting November 9th, the Board of Elections will give daily updates on results from absentee ballots. The results from early in-person voting will be available at 9 p.m. tonight. Results from Election Day will be available starting at 10 p.m.
More than 36% of Onondaga County voters have cast their ballots, a record number heading into Election Day. 59,000 people have voted early and 52,000 have voted absentee. Elections officials expect between 75 and 85% turnout in total, which will likely eclipse turnout from 2016.
And the deadline for filing for absentee ballots may have passed, but Onondaga County has a plan for voters who are feeling sick on Election Day. For those who feel unsafe voting in person can print out a form filing for an absentee ballot and designate somebody to submit the form in person. At the County Board of Elections, they can pick up a ballot, and ballots must arrive by November 10th in order to be counted.
People vote for a variety of reasons. Some might think voting as a civic duty or a moral obligation. Some people fall in love with a candidate. Democracy in Action's Daniel Baldwin tells us the driving factor behind some of the people voting in person today. Dan?
I'm outside the Eastwood Community Center, where things may look calm and peaceful behind me right now, but that certainly wasn't the case earlier this morning. Voters swarmed this polling location looking to cast their ballot in the 2020 election. In fact, over 330 votes have already been cast at this polling location. That's a voter turnout of 60% already. The polling manager told me she's been working in this area for over 29 years and has never seen a voter turnout greater than 30%. However, earlier I was at the Pebble Hill Presbyterian Church in DeWitt, where voter turnout wasn't as good. However, after speaking to voters at both polling locations, the reason for showing up in person remained the same: a passion for making change.
And we need to fight.
Despite the fact that the number of people registered to vote is the highest it's been since 1996, people did not flock to the polls early this morning. Empty booths dominated the scene. Voters could simply walk up to volunteers, fill out their ballot, and leave in under 5 minutes. Some voters who did show up said they felt a moral obligation to vote in person, while others said it was simply more convenient.
We, the people, are the ones who ultimately make the decision, so it's our job to get out there and make our vote.
It's close by my house. It's not a problem.
The polling manager here at Pebble Hill Presbyterian Church told me in 2016, from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., they had a constant stream of about 200 to 250 people waiting to vote in person. In 2020, the story's been much different. The most they had was at 6 a.m. when about 50 people waited in line to vote in person. Passion and emotion drove the voters who showed up to the polls.
But this year in particular, we have to show the liberals that communism has failed in Russia, China, Cambodia, Vietnam.
I feel like there's no plan in place, and we need someone out there who's going to take charge and make the right decisions for us.
People cared about the issues and how the results of the election would shape their future.
I went to the Scranton Trump rally yesterday. There was 30,000 people there, and it was absolutely beautiful. All working class people. That the academics at the universities, you know, those who can't teach. And right now they're teaching wrong history, they're teaching wrong values, and
The Eastwood Community Center polling manager told me that her goal for the rest of the day is to eclipse a 90% voter turnout. In order for that to happen, 350 more people would have to show up and vote. It's a lofty goal, but one that she hopes to hit. Reporting live from the Eastwood Community Center with Democracy in Action, I'm Dan Baldwin.
Thanks, Dan. Polls for the 2020 election close tonight, so Onondaga County residents are making sure their ballot is in. Democracy in Action reporter Natalie Fahmy spoke to voters today to find out just why they're voting in this year's election.
That's right, I'm at Nottingham High School, a polling place here in Onondaga County, where I've been speaking to voters, and some of them say they're more motivated to cast their ballot in this election than they have been in previous years. The 2020 presidential election is expected to have record voter turnout across the country, and for Syracuse resident Roger Redmond, this election means more than others.
I'm 59 years old, and this is probably the most important election that I've ever voted in.
Redmond says there are many issues that motivated him to vote, but there's one reason that sticks out to him in particular.
This country is divided like I've never seen before, and it's time for us to get back together as one country by getting this guy out of office. So that's the main reason why I'm voting, and hopefully why others are voting also.
Younger voters like 34-year-old Owen Daniel agree and say they are looking for change.
I'm tired of Trump's dangerous rhetoric, so I definitely voted against it.
59-year-old Martani Daru has voted in every election and says they are all significant.
I don't think it's any more important, but yeah, I was more motivated.
Both DeRoy and Daniel say they vote to be sure their voice is heard.
Well, I mean, voting every year, you know, your expectation is the person you're supporting is going to win. And then, you know, so you just wonder if you couldn't do more if the person you're supporting didn't.
I'm just hoping we see some change in government. That's kind of changed from the last 4 years.
And while today is the last day to cast your ballot, it's likely we won't know final election results for at least a week or two due to an increase in absentee voting. Reporting in Syracuse for Democracy in Action, I'm Natalie Fahmy.
Thanks, Natalie. Polling stations opened at 6 o'clock this morning, and thousands of Central New Yorkers will cast their ballot for president. But as Democracy in Action's Brendan Hodges tells us, there's much more to voting on than just the top of the ticket.
Well, voters have been coming and going at polling places all over the area all morning into the afternoon, like the one behind me here at the Huntington School. Now, the big vote is obviously for President of the United States, but in Central New York, there are a couple of other races that voters are keeping their eyes on. Voting in this election may seem simple. You walk in, get your ballot, vote, and walk out with a sticker to show for it. But for some Central New Yorkers, today is more than just a presidential race.
I'm actually holding a sign here to remind people, those people who need reminding, that this isn't only an election for president today, but there are a lot of important down-ballot races.
Races for everything from seats in the state Congress, Senate, and Assembly to city and family court judges.
And I think everybody coming here knows whether they're voting for Biden or Trump. And we've had people come by who are voting for both candidates. But a lot of people come in and they vote for president, and they may not be thinking about all the other races, all of which actually impact the lives of residents of Syracuse much more, or at least in very different ways, than the presidential race.
Plenty of voters have already shown up to vote in both the presidential and local elections, adding to record-setting numbers of early voters. For example, here at the Reformed Church of Syracuse's polling station, 260 voters have cast their ballots in the first 2 hours. And poll workers tell me they expect plenty more to come through once the workday ends this afternoon. And the local elections and the issues that they affect are on those voters' minds.
This is how we can build the country for a better future.
We're all obviously obsessed and anxious and with what's going to happen nationally. But a lot of the day-to-day life is affected by these local races.
With it being just after 2 o'clock, voter turnout is holding steady, but as the day progresses, poll workers have told me that they're expecting an uptick in voter turnout after the workday ends this afternoon. I'm Brendan Hodges in Syracuse for Democracy in Action. Back to you.
Thanks, Brendan. The outcome of the race between three-time incumbent John Katko and challenger Dana Bolter is one of the closest House races in New York State. Katko beat Bolter by 6% in the 2018 congressional election, but as of October 25th, a Siena College poll showed the two candidates tied at 45% each. Bolter has a significant advantage among voters in the city of Syracuse, but Katko leads throughout many portions of the rest of the county.
That'll do it for our second Democracy in Action live stream. Today, from all of us at the Newhouse School, I'm Olivia Conti.
And I'm Michael Fernari. Join us here for updates at 4, 6, 8, and once more as the polls close at 9 tonight. Until then, be sure to visit our website at dia-cny.syr.edu and follow us on Twitter at Democracy Action.